Hello, everybody. Let me see if I can fix this for now. I'm working with a slightly different setup today. So eh, kind of works, kind of doesn't work. Nope, that's not what I want. Hold up. We'll do that for now. I think that works. So I'm only using 2 monitors today, which is fine. I have a third one, but it doesn't connect with my setup here the way I needed to set the room up. And so I'm having to have I have 2 small screens in front of me, and then I have my big monitor because I have the release day party PowerPoint, I guess, on. So forgive me, I am technologically challenged many times. I thought I was really good at computers and stuff growing up, but I think it's just advanced past me, for sure. So if you are joining us, welcome. So glad you're here. It is release day for book 3. I can't believe we're actually here. It's been a wild, wild ride. Let me tell you, if you've been part of the saga, you know that my book is huge. I have it. Oh, I have the proof copy here, so you can kind of see. Just in case you haven't received your copy yet, look at this chunky boy. So big, so chunky. Because it was so chunky, I almost had to split it into 2 books because Amazon KDP was going to refuse to print it because it was over their page limit. So I almost split it. I decided not to. I shrunk the font slightly so it worked. And you're not going to even notice the difference, to be honest. And yeah, but we're here. We're here finally. And I'm so excited. So excited. So I will start out by saying the reason I chose September 28th, I think I did a little bit of a reel a while ago when I announced the release date, was because in the future, in the year 4500 to be exact, Case and Hallie meet for the very first time. And I love significant dates, and that's the reason why I chose September 28th. 1, it gave me enough time to get the book done, but 2, it was a significant date. I did have a couple other significant dates this fall to use just in case, but I thought this one was just perfection. And yeah, so book 1 came out on May 4th, which is Star Wars Day. Book 2 came out on my birthday, and this one came out on the day Hallie and Case met each other for the first time. Over on Instagram, so I'm live here on YouTube and Instagram at the same time, which is why I'm able to have the fancy what's over here now, PowerPoint, and the little ticker thing at the bottom here. But on Instagram, we have some people talking about their favorite candy and snacks. So we have chocolate and popcorn, all good things. Chocolate covered popcorn is also really good. Nerds gummy clusters are fantastic. I love them. If I go for something fruity, I really like the purple Skittles and the Nerds gummy clusters, but I prefer chocolate. Twix bars are my favorite. Love Reese's as well, but chocolate licorice is interesting. I don't think I realized they had chocolate licorice. Now I'm I don't like licorice, but I might try chocolate licorice. Oh, another gummy nerd clusters, Hannah and who was it? Mandy both love gummy nerd clusters. You notice caramel chocolate squares. Oh my word, yes. So my sister came. Actually, both sisters are here visiting, and one drove and stopped by Buc-ee's on the way here. And I love Buc-ee's. It's dark chocolate, but I like dark chocolate. It's the sea salt caramel fudge. I think it's the dark chocolate fudge. It was a masterpiece. I ate it away when she showed up. It's my favorite. I love s'mores fudge too, but I love the dark chocolate caramel sea salt caramel. Milk Duds, anything caramel. Yes. Hershey's chocolate. Have you been, who is this? Bookworm lady. I know your name, but I'm going to call you that because it's on my screen right now. Have you been to Hershey, Pennsylvania, where everything smells like Hershey's? It's fantastic. I haven't been there since I was in middle school, granted, but I love it. We can't go there now because they have the Reese's plant there as well, and my daughter is highly allergic to peanuts. I'm the air smells like peanut butter. Not going to be great. Cherry tomatoes. Have you tried them with cottage cheese? Really good. I also love cherry tomatoes. Love snacking on them as well, but I love snacking on them with cottage cheese. peanut M&Ms. I like the peanut butter M&Ms. Strawberries and bananas with Nutella. I actually hate Nutella, fun fact. It's a long story, but I do dip those in chocolate, bananas and strawberry. Chocolate covered popcorn. Oh, I love it. Oh yeah, you commented about my book. It's a little bit behind here. So I'm just seeing the comments about the book, spicy chips and sour candy, Kit Kat bars, any type of chocolate. That's awesome. Over on YouTube, people, we have Pico rings, also very good. Cheez-Its with grapes. That's actually a really good combo, 100%. Oh, Buc-ee's is good. You're talking about Buc-ee's. Yes, it's an interesting experience. That's all I'll say. It's like, it's always packed. We've been at, like, when we travel, we usually go when we travel because there's one kind of on the way to my parents. And we've been there at like 7 a.m. and it's packed at 7 a.m. It's fantastic. I love it, but it's an experience. Yes. Pineapple. Actually, someone told me about the Taijian pineapple the other day. We actually have that. I did not try it myself because I was scared. That's just me. Twix, yay! Okay, guys, you guys are awesome. I'm so glad you're here again. If you're just now joining, welcome. This is the Swords of Soul and Shadow release day party. I'm gonna make myself smaller in a second. Yes, I think I did that. Okay, take this off. Love the book. Thank you so much, Ezra. Wonderful. Okay, now I need to take this banner off. Sorry, this is a whole process here. Okay, I have myself in the corner. That's great. I look wonderful in my Deku sweatshirt. It's been a weekend, let me tell you. Yes. Okie dokie. I think we're all good here. So I'm going to move over here. So make sure this is good to go. I think we're good to go. Okie dokie. We're going to go ahead and start. So this is our agenda for today. I'm an old teacher, or used to be a teacher, so I'm retired is what I like to say. So I do have my agenda here. I thought it just helps me organize myself. So we're going to have a non-spoiler and spoiler section of this live stream because I have some spoiler questions and I have some non-spoiler questions. So I thought I'd divide them today instead of just kind of like censoring because some of you have read book 3. I don't know if it's because a Sunday was my release day, but a lot of people actually got their books early if they pre-ordered, which is fine. But so some of you have already read it. Either you're an art team or you got your book early. So I did have some spoiler type questions. So that was really fun. I can't wait to answer those personally because I've been busting at the seams to talk about some of the spoiler stuff, and I can't because I don't want to spoil it, but I will put that on the screen. You'll know it's spoilers. You can leave before then. I will be having some giveaways today, so I have people who are joining or have joined my read along who have been entered into a special giveaway. I'll talk about that again, so I'll announce those winners live. And then I have people who are here on the live stream. You get to enter. I think I have 3 giveaways for you today, so I'm really excited about that. We talk about future plans and updates and all the fun stuff. So I talk a lot, so I'm going to try to keep this around like 30, 45 minutes tops, but I do tend to chat a little too much, especially if it's something I like books, and I also talk too fast, and so it's a great combination there. If you're joining me live and you want to ask a question, feel free. Because I'm streaming to YouTube and Instagram, it doesn't give me the question box on Instagram. So if you are here and want to ask a question, drop a little green check mark with the question itself, and I will try to get to that at the end. That would be great. I think that's all the housekeeping type stuff, but we're going to continue and start. So the non-spoiler questions, any tips for aspiring writers? I'm going to give my best tip, and I've told my sister this weekend. I don't know if she's actually watching. She might be because I told her I was going live. She's downstairs. But she's also an aspiring writer. She's a very good writer. She was reading me some of her stuff this weekend. But I told her, you need to just finish the book. Once you finish the book, do whatever you can to finish the book, whatever it is. And once you do, like, something like flips in your brain that tells you can finish books. And I watched a YouTube video when I was trying to finish my first book because I spent years just starting something and then never finishing it. But I watched a video that says, do whatever you have to do. The first book is going to be horrible, and my first book is horrible. Cities is not my first book I've ever written. It's actually the 3rd book I've ever written. And they're like, just do whatever you have to do to finish it. Add a new character, set something on fire, put a character in a tree, whatever you have to do to move past the point that you're stuck on and finish the book. And then you can throw it in a drawer and never touch it again. So that is my biggest tip, because I think that helps everything else fall into place. So that is thing I always say, I think, whenever I get this type of question. And so it's kind of boring, but like it's so true. It's so stinking true. What is my favorite thing about writing? It is brainstorming. That's my favorite part of the process. I really do like revisions too, but I think the brainstorming stage is just so fun because you can just imagine anything and everything. And I get to write it all down. I get to make Pinterest boards and Spotify playlists, and that is the best part. I like making it pretty. I love revisions. They are difficult. Revisions are not easy for me, but I enjoy them because I'm fixing the mess that was the draft. Drafting is my least favorite part of writing in general. Let's see here. What romance tropes would you like to explore in future books? I have so many. I really like enemies to lovers, hate to love vibe. I love slow burn romance. I don't know specifically what I would do. I do have an idea of writing a Lily and James Potter style romance, but I don't know what book I would put that in or anything like that. So who knows? Who knows? We'll see. This was a hard question to answer because I'm not sure. I kind of just go with the flow and figure that out when I'm writing it, because I want it to feel natural as well. I feel like if I go out writing a enemies to lovers, it's not going to feel authentic when I write it that way. Hallie and Case just happened to hate each other. That I wrote a scene between them, and that's what came out. And I was like, well, obviously they're going to hate each other and then learn to get along and like each other later. So that was really fun. People are talking about merch in the comments. I'll talk about that in a second because I have some ideas. With that, remind me, I'm going to try to go back through and find that green check mark, but I'll talk about that in a minute. How do I stay motivated in writing? I stay motivated in a couple of different ways. I use Pinterest and Spotify to really help me like stay focused with the story, but also because I've finished a book, that has really unlocked something where like I can get through it. I've also learned the art of fast drafting, where if you get stuck, I put brackets and I say like insert scene here about topic, or insert this description here, and so that helps me move along. That I've learned how to do that. I also, if I get really stuck and I'm kind of just like, I don't know what to do with this book or whatever, I usually go for a walk and I take a break from the book, whether that's a couple hours, a couple days, a week or so. That helps me, and that helps me stay motivated. I also try to take the weekends off unless I'm on a deadline. So this last couple months, I've been pretty much on a deadline nonstop, and so I have worked weekends. But usually if I take the weekends off, I avoid burnout. I go on walks, make sure I get outside and touch some grass. That's how I stay motivated, but it's going to be different for different people. That's how I stay motivated personally. Let's see here. Looking back at all you've accomplished in your books, what would you tell yourself if you could go back in time when you were first starting out? Would you change anything? I wouldn't change anything. Well, I take that back. The only thing I would change, knowing what I do now, if I knew the future, I would write the entire series first and then publish it. But that's the only thing I would change. Like I think I had to learn that on the fly. I'm very much a kinesthetic learner, and so I have to do it. I have to try it. I have to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't compute in my brain. So I wouldn't change anything, but for my next series, I'm probably going to at least have the first draft done of the entire series, a fast draft done of it before I even look at publishing or whatnot, because I learned that from this first series. Because there's some things in book 1 I would go back and change based on things I wrote in book 3 that would just be like perfect. But it's fine. There's like one line I would add specifically to book 1 that comes up the top of my head that I'm like, I would love to add that line, but I can't. So it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, I love this first series. It's been really fun. Case and Hallie have been just like so fun to write, and the other characters too. You'll get to know more about some of the other characters in book 3 if you haven't read it yet. And it's just some of their stories were super fun to write, and some of my favorite things to write of all time. Are there certain writing rituals that you have, like candles, drinks, or anything like that? I used to have a lot of rituals. I do not. Since I've had kids, it's just like write when I can. You're going to have to figure out something and just write, because you don't have time to mess around and get the right candle. I used to have like candle going and like drink coffee and have like a snack nearby. But right now it's like, hey, if I have quiet time to write, then I can focus. Usually I have coffee because coffee does help me focus. If I don't have coffee, I get rather distracted. So that's a me problem for sure. What do you do if you find something in your book that isn't working? How do you solve that problem? Kind of like what I mentioned earlier with the motivation thing. If I find something that's not working, I like to think about it. So I like to actually go outside and physically go on a walk. I go on a walk and I touch grass. That just helps exponentially for me. Usually getting the exercise like jogs my brain or something. Sometimes I'll even just get out a piece of paper and just word vomit all over the page, and that's also really helpful. So yeah, stuff like that. I have to just think about it. Sometimes I talk about it with other people, but sometimes it's to the point where it's all in my head and I can't physically talk about it and like explain it to somebody who's not me. But I do have some wonderful critique partners, and my husband is actually a really good sounding board, but he does not read. So he knows nothing about my book. He likes fantasy type things, but he's a really good sounding board because he knows nothing about my book sometimes. So he comes up with some really good ideas that way. So I'm talking with people, but usually I just have to take a break and figure out what's wrong. But it also depends on the problem. So if your books had a theme song, what would they be? I love this question. So I do have like end credit songs for my books in my head. If they were to be a movie, this would be like the song that would play in the end credits. So book one's it's called Without You by Ursine Vulpine. I have no clue how to say that word, the name of that artist, but it is really good. And then for book two's, I think it's Hold My Hand. Hold Your Hand, Hold My Hand. It's the end credit song for Top Gun Maverick, actually. It's by Lady Gaga. So that one is just perfect for book two. And then book three, it took me a while to decide which one would be my end credit song, but it is definitely Here I Am, the Spirit song from the Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron by Bryan Adams. It's perfect. It's perfect for this book. So those are the three I would choose. If you're part of my Discord, you actually got access to all three Spotify playlists with the songs that kind of vibe with the books that include the end credit song. Now I'm thinking about it. I wonder, I have to make sure the cities one is correct. I'll go put it on there if that's the case. Not the case. But newsletter subscribers also get access to, I think, the first two Spotify playlists. I think I've given you access to that. But you might be getting the third one soon. I also have a very special playlist I gave my Discord members, read along people, of Case and Callie theme songs. So that was really fun. I hope you guys are enjoying that for sure. And will I cry? I assume with book three. I'm not going to say it depends on you. I would say I cried. I cried at my own book, and I don't usually cry at my own books. I cry at other people's books, and I cry at movies. So I am a crier, but like I usually don't cry at my own writing. I cried. I teared up writing the book, but I like cried when I was in my final read through. I think it was a combination of like, I'm done with this book. And also there's a certain plot arc that it was so satisfying to end it the way it did. And I think I mentioned it in my newsletter that I sent out today or yesterday or something. My brain is mush. It actually came out the way I imagined it in my head. So I think it was a combination of all that. Kiki says, I 100% cried. You were my ARC reader, one of my ARC readers. Yes, yes, yes. I don't want you to cry. I don't want you to be sad, but like, I want to have that. I want my books to like, I want them to make you cry in a good way, Hannah says, I cried with the last book I read. I know I'm going to stop with this one. Hey, you know what? If a book makes me cry, it pretty much gets an automatic 5 stars because I was able to feel the emotion. 100%. Yes. Oh, Cozy Reading Room. Yes, I cried reading this book. You guys are making me feel good about my writing in my book because I wanted that reaction. Yes, Ezra on YouTube, I almost said Instagram. You most definitely will cry. Yay. I mean, again, I'm not trying to like cheer about it, but like, Alyssa says, I can't wait. I don't cry. I throw books across the room. I actually have thrown a book across the room. I DNF'd that book though. So if I'm throwing books, not a good thing. But Bookworm Lady cried with the first book. I can see why. I know why you cried. We can talk about that in the spoiler section. The romance in book 3, is it still slow burn? I'm going to say yes, because of things that happened at the end of book 2, but it isn't what you think of when you think of slow burn. The romance is heavier in this book. I will say that for sure. And I will leave it at that because I don't want to do spoilers quite yet. Yes. A lot of you are saying like you cried in my book, or you also cry in books. That makes me feel better, because I cry all the time in books, which is good. I love it. I love it when that happens. I think the last book I cried in is the last Hunger Games book, Sunrise on the Reaping. I sobbed, absolutely sobbed. Would you ever write a story in Zeke's point of view? I probably wouldn't do a full story, but I do have an idea of doing a couple scenes or two, and I can talk about that later. But I do want to do a Zeke point of view scene to possibly put in a special edition of the book. I don't know if I'll do a special edition of the books, but I might do maybe a collection of short stories. I don't know. I would like to write something in Zeke's point of view, but it wouldn't be a full book. I don't think there's a full story there, but I think there's a couple short stories or something like that. But I don't know. I'm not a planner, so we'll see what happens for sure. Okay, that's the end of our non-spoiler section. So yay. I love those questions. I do have some giveaways for you guys. So our first giveaway that we're going to do is 2 book boxes for my read-along people. I'm going to make sure I have my thing pulled up in a second, but I wanted to make myself bigger first. There we go. Hi. I don't have everything from the book box yet, because some things are still coming in, but I wanted to tease a couple of things. So book boxes are going to have a Case and Hallie art dot grid notebook. Can't really see it on the camera, but it's dot grid, and I love it. This art is done by Mylene. I will tag her maybe in the description below if I can afterward. I think I can do that. I tagged her a couple times when I shared this art, because it is, or pretty much every time I share this art, I share it because it is absolutely gorgeous. So a notebook with Case and Hallie on it. I did get these cute chibi coasters with Case and Hallie's faces on them. I have those. You'll get probably 3 of those, maybe 4. I have to see. I'm doing 3 book boxes total. And then, oh, I forgot to take this out, but so it's in this weird case. But it's Hallie's pocket watch, almost Hallie's pocket watch, because it's not custom, but it is a pocket watch. It is the same color, but it's close. We're gonna say it's close to it. It's gonna be that. I'm gonna have all 3 copies, hardcover copies, signed in the book box. I'm working with somebody to get custom candles made, and there's gonna be other goodies that, like I said, haven't arrived yet. So I am so excited to hand out these book boxes and give them away. Before I get to the giveaway though, I do wanna go back. There was that question up there about merch, because that kind of dovetails in what I was talking about. I think you were just asking, would I have some merch? I am working on that. I have ideas for merch. I just don't know the execution of it yet. Because I personally want a sweatshirt that says irksome lizard on it and Case plus Hallie, stuff like that. I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. I think maybe the chibis I might put on some t-shirts or mugs or something. Oh, one of the things I'm working with somebody is a mug for the book box too, so I might have some more of those. Yeah, I am excited about that. I need a shirt. Zumi says, I need a shirt with the quote, if you're of the opinion that romance involves space laser swords and overarching empires, then yes, I'm reading romance. You know what? I'm pocketing that. Hold on, I'm gonna write that down because that's a good idea. Shirt with Star Wars reference plus romance in realms. Hopefully I'll remember what that means when I look at this note later. I'm sure I will. I saw another question here. I want to read more enemies to lovers, but more historical Christian maybe, and not much fantasy. Okay, I think it's Crochet. I'm gonna say that's your username. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Highly recommend Gabrielle Meyer. Her books, I have read the Timeless series. I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's enemies to lovers in there. Technically, I don't know. But hers are fantastically written romances, and they have, I mean, it's not fantasy. It has a time travel element. basically you have a character, she lives in like the first book, I think it's 1914, and one day, and then the next day she wakes up in 1775 because it's Revolutionary War, and so she flip-flops days and has to choose one of the timelines to stay in after her 21st birthday. And they're all romances, and they're all clean, they're all Christian. It is fantastic. Highly recommend that series. She has 5 books in the series so far. The 6th book is about to come out. I don't know if any of them are enemies to lovers. I read them all, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Super, super good. Highly recommend. She has more books too, so they might have those. They're all historical. They have Christian as well. Yeah, I think for insert scene here. Oh yeah, I use the insert scene here a lot when I do things here. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the read along giveaway. Okay, so I have, let me see if I can do this. Let me make me kind of small here. There we go. And then I'm going to share my screen. Again, stop sharing screen. There's me. Hi. And go to the other share screen, which is the Wheel of Names picker. Okay. Here we go. So all these people entered into the read along stuff. So I'm going to spin it. We're going to get 2 book boxes I'm giving away right now for these people. So the first book box is going to go to Scarlett. I will be, I know who you are. I know you are in Discord. I will be contacting you. That is the first book box. And the second book box is going to be, oh, almost Ariana, but Carissa, you are the second book box winner. I might do some more book boxes in my Etsy shop later, but right now I don't know. But these are going to be awesome. If you are here on the live, I will have a 3rd book box available later, but let's go back to my StreamYard here. Remove, and hi, I'm back. Present, screen. Present, where is share screen? Okay, this is a little more involved than I thought it was going to be, but I think it works. I think we're working. There we go. I think that works. Yay. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. There we go. Okay. Moving on, we have our agenda here. We did those giveaways there. I will be contacting those people later, which is what I just did. Okay, moving on. Future plans and updates. So I have a couple people asking about my Etsy shop and signed copies. I just wanted to let you know I will be having signed copies. I'm waiting for book 3s to come in. Book 3 hardcovers and book 3 paperbacks. I have all the book 2s and book 1s I need for hardcovers and paperbacks. I was waiting for book 3 to come out because I want to do a lot of bundle boxes because a lot of you wanted the bundle box, which is perfectly fine and understandable. So I will be getting those out. Hopefully, I want to do it by the end of October. I have a new art piece I'm doing that is going to be going with the 3rd book signed copies. And so I'm getting that like mid-October, and I've seen like the final sketch of it, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I am so excited about it. I cannot wait to share it because it is amazing. It's also a spoiler a little bit for book 3 because it's a scene at the very end. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And then new art, which I just mentioned. I will have an audiobook coming for book 3. I know a lot of you are waiting on those. So I am super excited about that. My narrator is the same as the first 2 books, which is why it's going to be a little bit of a longer wait for it because he's busy, understandably so. He's supposed to start on it hopefully sometime in October, reading book 3, but it is a big book, so it's going to take a little bit to record and edit and stuff like that. So I'm hoping for an early 2026 release. I don't know if that's possible. It might be like March or something. I don't know yet. So I don't want to give a firm date on that without me knowing. Just know it's coming. And I'm so sorry it is not available now if you're an audiobook only reader. I also pretty much read exclusively audiobooks, so I get it. My TBR pile, I meant to put something in here about it. My goal is to read a bunch of books this next few months and just kind of like refill my well and also learn. Because I want to up my prose. I want to write more adult books because solidly adult books instead of like the mid thing, which was what I'm writing right now, because I have a lot of adult fantasy ideas. But I do have some more new adult fantasy ideas as well. But I think reading a lot of those books that I want to kind of emulate would be really helpful and learning. And then I want to do a November writing challenge. NaNoWriMo is no more. So I want to do something in November, whether that's brainstorming my next book series or even writing a first draft. I don't know. We'll see. I want to do something like that. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Maybe we could all do it together. I don't know. I haven't planned anything other than I think I want to write something in November, but we shall see. We shall see. It's hard to predict the future and my writing mood for sure. Okay, we have some more giveaways here. But before I get to that, it's going to be, I think, 3 giveaways, and I'll talk about that in a second. I have a question over here, and why is it not showing my thing here? Well, would you continue to write steampunk books? Yes and no. I like the science fantasy sphere. I don't know if it's going to be exclusively steampunk. And even my book isn't technically, when I think of steampunk, I think of something that's really focused on like the technology of the world. And I feel like my books are more character focused. So I don't know if I view mine as true steampunk, but is definitely feels steampunky. So probably because I really like the vibe. I just don't know if it'll be as steampunky as Cities of Smoke and Starlight, the Gate Chronicles world. So we'll see. We'll see. Hannah asked over on Instagram. I think I missed a couple of ones. Hold on. Let's see. Alyssa, you're getting the hard copy. Yay! I'm so excited for you guys to read it. Will you be able to buy the book boxes later? I'm trying to figure that out. I had to figure out. Oops, did I freeze? Hold on. There's a good chance I just froze. Okay. If you can hear me and I'm moving around, it looks like I'm frozen over on Instagram. I'm going to pull it up on my phone and see. Hold on. Oh, my internet is really bad. Let's do that. Let's fix that. Oh, wait, now I'm moving again over there. Okay. Okay, I think we're good. Sorry, that was my internet is not as reliable as I would like. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back to what I was saying here. Okay, I'm not lagging on YouTube, so that's really good to know. Okay, let's go back to what I was saying. Yes, I would like to do the book boxes. I just don't know. I haven't priced it out yet and what that would be, what that would look like. Would it be the same type of stuff? Would I source it or to have something similar? I'm working on that. We will see. Katie, is that you? Love the pocket watch? Yes, I love it too. It's super, super cool. I would totally buy the Irksome Wizard sweatshirt. Yes, yes, yes. Definitely getting signed copies. Yay! Would you ever consider writing cozier fantasies? Bookworm Lady, yes, that is a really good question. That's actually one of my next ideas I would love to write. I actually have a plot synopsis for it, and I've been working on the characters. I'm excited about that. That's the one I'm thinking about writing in November. So yes, I would write a cozier fantasy, but it also might end up turning dark because that's just who I am as a writer, but we'll see. Would you ever be interested in ARC reading for another author? Yes and no. I don't do a whole lot of ARCs anymore because I'm an author, and so it's hard to read an ARC and then write a review for it because it's kind of like a professional thing. So as an author, I don't usually share my reviews of other books because of that. I will share if I really liked a book a lot of times, but I usually don't give like reviews or anything like that just because it's not a professional type thing. Okay, good. You guys can hear me just fine. Maybe I'm crazy, which is possible as well. Let's see. Yay! Would you ever do a writing or editing class? I would love to do something like that. I don't think I'm organized to do something like that. I can teach language arts really well. But doing a writing or editing class, I don't know if I have the capacity to do that because my writing style is so unique to me. And especially writing is like really, really unique to each person. Each person has their own way of their process and way of doing it. And so I don't know if like me telling the process would be helpful or not. Because I don't want anyone to think like, hey, you have to write like Allie does, because my way is kind of chaotic, to be honest. But I highly recommend Brandon Sanderson he teaches a college course called Writing Science Fiction and Fantasy at BYU, and he has recorded it and put it on YouTube. Highly recommend that one, 100%. He has several years, I think, on YouTube up, so you can watch several semesters of his class. I highly recommend that one. That's probably one of the better writing classes. Editing classes, I think Nadine Brandes might have an editing class. I might have just misspoken. I have not talked to her personally, but I feel like I remember her having an editing class or something of that nature up. It might not be editing. I know she has some kind of course or had some kind of course in the past that might be geared toward that. But I don't know, but maybe I will. You never know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I might change my mind. Okay, let's get back to the giveaway here. So this one, I have 3 of them. I think the first one, let's see, is the Halley Case dot grid notebook right here. So I have trivia questions for these. I tried to choose something that a lot of people would know. And then the book box one is going to be a little more difficult because it is the book box. But the way I'm going to run it is I have YouTube and Instagram going live, and the first person to answer it will get the swag here with each of the giveaways. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Who is your favorite Gate Chronicles character? The first one I see is going to get the Halley Case notebook. There's a lag, so I know. Looks like, Ezra, I see you. Ezra. You are going to get, Ezra, if you would either DM me on Instagram or you can get my email, that would be great, because I will get you this notebook. There we go. Awesome. Okie dokie. There we go. Now we're going to do the signed paperback of Swords of Soul and Shadow. Okie dokie. Give you a second. Get caught up here. And the next question is, what is the name or was the name of Case's sister? Another softball question. If you've already want to give away, I'm probably going to say no. That, let's see here. Norma, I see you got it. Good. Oh, goodness gracious. There we go. There we go. Aha. I see a bunch of Halleys and Cases. There you go. Okay, I think Norma got it over here, barely. Norma, paperback. Norma, full-length camp. You're going to get the paperback here. Again, email me or DM me. That would be great. Awesome. Good job, guys. Okay. And, okay. The live giveaway. I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do 2 more book boxes. I'm going to do 2 more book boxes because it's going to be a little bit if I get the books in. I'll do 2 more book boxes. So I'll do 1 from YouTube and 1 from Instagram because I think Instagram might be a little bit behind looking at it. So I'll do 1 YouTube book box and I'll do 1 in. I'm lagging on the wrong one. Oh no, that's funny. That's horrible. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure. I hope I'm up. Oh no. Ah! Okay, looks like I'm frozen. Hold on. Go back. Okay. Looks like, hey, okay. Looks like I'm back up. Okay, I see. Okay, Hannah K. Hodge. I got you on Instagram. Hannah K. Hodge, you got it on Instagram. On YouTube, I'm waiting for, I have 2 wrong answers on YouTube. And Ezra, you got it on YouTube. There it is, Romeo and Juliet. But guys, I think what I'm gonna have to do, because that was the worst time to freeze in all of history, to be honest. I will figure something out. I might do another giveaway. I might even do a 5th box at some point. Maybe not in the live stream here. I might do it later. Maybe I'll figure something out because that was not fair. For sure. But Hannah K. Hodge and Ezra, you guys are getting book boxes. Okay. There we go. I'll make it up to you guys. I am so sorry. That was rather unfortunate. It was Romeo and Juliet. So I think it's like one of the very first scenes of Romeo and Juliet. Someone says that. And so Case and Hallie knew what it was, and Hallie uses it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Moving on. And this was my second backup question, if you want to answer it, but I'm going to move on. Agenda, spoiler question. So now I'm going to move into the spoiler section of the live stream. It is going to be spoilers for all the books. I think I have that on the next screen here. Warning, there are spoilers for the entire series, some of them for book 1, book 2, and book 3. So if you don't care about spoilers, you can totally stay. Thank you so much for coming. And if you don't want to stay, totally fine again, because there will be book 3 spoilers right here from now on. But again, thank you so much for supporting this book series. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. It's been just fantastic. Yeah, I'm so thankful for you guys, and it just means the world to me. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and do some spoiler stuff. I'm giving people the chance. I will also put like a little banner on the screen here, just in case people join in a second. Yes. Thank you so much. A couple people are going to leave and go read book 3. Excellent choice. Excellent choice. I personally love book 3. And then when you're done with book 3, you can come watch this and then look at the spoilers. So all good things there. And this will be on YouTube as well. And I will obviously have it on Instagram unless it wigs out on me. So yay. Thank you so much for coming. Okay. We're going to go ahead in the spoiler section here. This is your final warning. I want to make sure, because we are like spoiling a bunch of stuff here. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yay. Totally get it, guys. Thank you guys for coming. If you were leaving because of spoilers, totally get it. Here we go. Okay. What was the most distinctly hard thing to write in each book? For book 1, Cities of Smoke and Starlight, it was probably just writing the book in general. It was my first book. I was trying to actually revise the whole thing. I tried to revise several books, but it was a lot. And I just was, hold on one second. Yes, Ezra, just email me. That would be good. Just email me or DM me, whichever one, and then I will get with you and work it all out so I can send your prizes to you. Yes. The most distinctly hard thing with that one is just writing it and like finishing it, because that was a whole thing. I got a developmental editor and worked through it, but that was really, really difficult. So that was kind of a cop-out answer for book 1, but that was the case. For book 2, it was the middle. I recognized my middle of the book was really, really saggy. So Hallie breaking Case out of the jail in book 2 was something I added, because it went from basically Hallie and Case being in Kybena and leaving into Kybena to the pass, and then walking to the pass, and then running into a couple obstacles there, and then they're in Stone Set, and it just didn't work. There was no tension whatsoever. I actually cut out the dance scene because I thought it just wasn't working. I thought it was too romantic, and so I took it out in book 2, and I added it back in when I realized I got to the end. I really needed that to hype up the romance a little more. And that's when I realized there was not enough tension in the middle. And so I added Hallie breaking out of jail. I added the avalanche. I added Yarrow. Yarrow wasn't, I don't think he was a part of the first draft, but he is now. So there's a lot of things that was hard to write, because I had to go and I had to rewrite basically the entire middle of the book for book 2. But I realized that ahead of time before I sent it off to any editors. So that was really hard. I also was revising while I had a baby. And so that was really difficult too, and trying to find the time to do it. For book 3, Hallie's arc was super hard. So again, these are spoiler section, but Hallie's arc at the beginning when she's with Niels and going into Mirai and stuff like that, I rewrote that I think 3 times. I almost had her flash back in time and meet Navara back in time, and have a whole thing there where she ran into Loeffler there and then appeared in the gate chamber with the sword, the Kynodir sword, and fought Loeffler there. But that was going to be too much of a section of the book where Case and Hallie were going to be separated for too long. And so I changed that. So I cut that and I kept the Niels and Hallie bits in Mirai, and I added Philip and Faylie to that. Faylie is one of my favorite new characters of all time. I would love to explore her backstory more. But she wasn't going to be a part of it. I was actually going to kill Faylie pretty early on. I ended up killing Philip instead. And the whole Philip Faylie thing, totally, the whole thing was very difficult because it had a lot of moving pieces. And I couldn't make it just right. So that was probably the hardest thing for book 3. The hardest emotionally for book 3 to write was actually Harlan's arc. Harlan was my favorite arc to write because it was so fun to like explore his like thinking and his life and why he is the way he is. I just really enjoyed that as a writer. However, I knew how his story ended and it was just heartbreaking. So that made it really difficult, like emotionally, to write his arc. Because I knew that he wasn't ever going to get better and Les was going to be dragged down with him. And that was really hard emotionally to write. So I would choose those for the different things there. What other references did I hide in the books, not including Star Wars? I had a bunch of references. I have, there's a lot of Star Wars, but there's like some Tangled references. There's some references to Frankenstein, and King Arthur is really heavy in book 3. Technically, King Arthur character is Harlan. So that was really exciting to play with, but it's like if King Arthur like went bad. And so that was good. And then I also had the foil where like Ben comes back at the end and he is now like the new King Arthur character. And so I have a very specific King Arthur-ish reference at the very, very end of book 3 when they're in the like ruined cathedral and they're creating the third gate. And there's a really good imagery that I was really proud of that was like Ben is like the new King Arthur, even though Case and Hallie have those King Arthur type qualities and there's like betrayals and all that stuff that kind of go with the legend. Ben and Harlan were both the King Arthur characters I had in my mind. So those are kind of more evident, I guess. I'm trying to think if there's anything more off the top of my head. I can't think of anything, but they're all the time. There's little bitty ones. Like there's a couple Lord of the Rings references I know in book 2, and then there's a more explicit Lord of the Rings few in like book 3 as well. So super fun. I love adding like little bitty hints of different things. Oh, and there's also a Warbreaker reference in book 3. So that was really fun to kind of add in there as well. How did you come up with the Yavin language? Inspired by anything? I didn't really have much inspiration of like another language. I did want to have something that was like consistent. So with the naming specifically of the people, so all the men have an R in their name, but it's always with a consonant. You have a consonant and then you have an R. And then with the women, there was an R in their name too, but it's always like a vowel with the R itself. So I wanted that to be kind of consistent. So a lot of the words in the Yavin language I use, I try to follow that rule a little bit. There's lots of R's or lots of like weird, like there's a consonant and an R next to it that don't usually go together. And so that was kind of the rules I followed. I am not J.R.R. Tolkien, but there is a reference to his languages in book 3. If you know, they're Hallie and Case are talking, and Case has a tattoo of something from Lord of the Rings, and Hallie talks about how she knows all about Tolkien. So that was really fun to write too. So that was a really fun reference there, for sure. So like I didn't make up the whole language, but I had little rules I followed for myself. How did I come up with the Zeprium and its magical properties? What was the process for creating this? I kind of just stumbled into it. I was using it as like, hey, this is important. This is why magic works in the world. But as I was writing, it became more and more involved and heavily involved in the world building and the plot overall and like the ending. Zeprium is so important. I don't know if I'm going to explore this in a different series, so I'm not going to go too into it because it's spoilers for something else I might do in the future. But my idea was that this metal was the only thing that it's at the core of the world. And so that has a lot to do with some of the backstory of the Yalds. And then they end up using it for magical purposes, obviously. And then the humans also discovered that as well. So Kiki says, I loved finding the references, especially the Tangled. Yay! I'm so glad you like that. I feel like references are always like a very fun, like little like puzzle for the readers. I love finding them in books I read, because so that's why I added them to mine. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think like what the process was. It just I just fell into it, and I needed something to use in Zeprium. I just like, if I needed something, I brought Zeprium back in, and I was able to tie it and make it such a core part of the world because I kept needing something. And so I'm more of a person who writes, and I kind of make it up as I go along instead of planning it out. And so that was one of the things that just developed over time. How did I come up with the magic system? Kind of a cop-out answer again, but when I was writing, it just made sense. I love the idea of not having in this specific story, having like they can do anything and everything with their magic. They have a certain like affinity for something. So with the essences, particularly, each of them have a facet of time manipulation. Hallie's is the most powerful, being essence of time. She can rewind time, she can fast forward time. I didn't get to explore that as much in this one, but her powers are really important to the story in that regard, because she helps create that final gate and repairing a bunch of different things. The other magic system is Soul Tech, and Soul Tech was really fun to explore, and I want to explore it more. So I don't want to go too far into it because I have a couple other series ideas to go with Soul Tech, where you can use your soul and your life force to do certain things. And so that's what Ezekiel discovered, and that's what ended up essentially getting him killed. And so I left it kind of vague because I have a really good idea of what I want to explore with that in a different series. So that's I just kind of fell into it, and I kind of made it work. But the time manipulation was a really good way to, that was a really good like root cause of the magic system, and I was able to like branch out from there. Yeah, I didn't want to like a complete soft magic system. Like I feel like Lord of the Rings is kind of a little bit of a softer magic system with like Gandalf specifically. And that's fine, but I also didn't want too hard of a magic system. So mine, I feel like, is somewhere kind of in the middle there. Let's see here. What were my favorite chapters to write in book 3? Chapter 33 was my favorite to write because it was the bonfire scene, and there was somebody on Instagram, I can't remember what I was talking about on Instagram. Someone left a question box. I think it was like, hey, what do you hope to see in book 3? And someone was like, it'd be really fun to have like a bonfire dance scene. And I was like, perfect, I'm putting that in my book because I needed something at that point. So chapter 33 was really fun to write because of the bonfire scene, because it was an emotionally charged scene. It was a really fun scene because Hallie and Case got to just be together and just like enjoy each other's company, and Case got to open up a lot. And I really hope you love that chapter as much as I do. I added the first scene to chapter 33 later in this one of these last drafts. And I still like that scene. I think it's really good because it shows a little more of the Galvin heritage and kind of what they're like and what Salder's like, what annoys Salder. And I enjoyed kind of exploring his character. So that whole chapter was just so fun. The other chapter I really enjoyed writing was the one where Case and Hallie are in the hovercraft Merlin, and they're flying around, and they end up fighting Ben in the hovercraft and as a dragon. And so I was thinking Top Gun Maverick at that point. So it was so fun. But you have the banter and the lightheartedness right before that, and then you have this intense part, and then you have Hallie almost dying, and it was just, I thoroughly enjoyed that chapter, writing that one. I also loved writing any of Jack's scenes. He was my favorite. He became one of my favorite characters to write of all time, based on this book. And I loved anything I wrote with him in it. It was just a blast. I got to just have fun with him, and I really liked making all the death puns and the death jokes. That was just really fun to me. I sometimes have a dark sense of humor, and so that was just, I thoroughly enjoyed that personally. I also really liked writing the epilogues. I cried in Job's epilogue, and specifically, I remember just sobbing after I finished my last read through in Job's epilogue, because that one came out exactly how I pictured it. And it was just, his arc is just so impactful. And I just feel like he went through everything and just like, bless his heart, bless his heart. He went through a lot, and he got to have a sort of happy ending, and that warms my heart inside. Just like, I was like crying. Next question is future plans for Hallie and Case and other characters and the Gate Chronicles, cameos, Next Generation. I don't really know yet. I really don't like when authors finish a series and then they take those same characters and they're the main characters of like the next series. Like they continue to have to grow, because then you have the happy ending and then you're just going to ruin it, or they've grown so much and they've really reached like their peak like character development, and then you're going to have to throw some other wrench in their plans and they're going to have to grow again. And I personally don't like that as a reader. And so I don't want to write any more Case and Hallie main character books, even though I love writing them, and it makes me sad not to write Hallie and Case anymore as main characters. But I wouldn't be opposed to like a cameo type situation. I have a couple ideas with like the Next Generation of like their kids and Job's kids and Bailey and Salter's kids. I have a really good idea for that. I don't know if I'm going to develop that one enough, but I do have a really good idea to kind of do a spinoff series with one of Case and Hallie's kids, Penny specifically. I don't know if I'll do it, but I have to think on it. I have to brainstorm it a little more. But I do want to continue writing in the Gate Chronicles world. I have several ideas, specifically in Tev Rubica, of different things that go on there. I didn't really explore it in the series, but Tev Rubica does have a rich history, and I kind of want to explore that a little more. So I don't know if any cameos would be there, but you might have some. It just depends on what I write and when I write it. So yeah. But I love this world. I love this world. I love Case and Hallie. So I want to have still the same vibes, I guess, with those. I think this is talking about realms, because this question is specifically from Discord with the read along. Did you always plan on the scene in chapter 33, or did that come as I was writing? Chapter 33 in Realms is the one where Case and Hallie are in the dungeon after Case is tortured and Hallie takes on the essence of time. And so Case admits that he was the one who started the fire. It's all his fault. And like he had to run away from Kyvena to avoid, he's being blackmailed. And so Case and Hallie had this really awesome, like vulnerable moment. And that's their first kiss. And so like I always knew there was going to be some kind of scene like that, but that one kind of surprised me. I didn't know when it was going to happen, what was going to happen. That one kind of came to fruition as I was writing. So with book 2, I finished book 1. I edited book 1. I was actually querying book 1 when I wrote, I outlined for book 2 and I drafted it. So the outline for book 2 only went up to the point where Callie got kidnapped, and after that was like open spaces. So I wrote book 2's first draft in about 8 weeks. I didn't have kids and it was 2020, had to stay in the house anyway. So I wrote all that. And so Hallie and Case chapter 33 in Realms is completely like off the cuff, essentially. A lot of it surprised me for sure. Let's see up here. Please say you'll write book 4 or Case and Hallie get married at the end of book 3. If you have not read book 3, this is a spoiler section, so I'm not going to give that away quite yet. But there will not be a book 4 technically of Case and Hallie, and I will keep quiet about the other one. I'm going to give Little Sweet Tea a chance to get off unless she wants to hear. I assume you're a girl because you're Little Sweet Tea, but I don't know. Unless you want to hear the actual answer to that. So I'll give you a second. And 1, 2, 3. Technically, there is no wedding in book 3. However, they are engaged. So and then the epilogue is 10 years later. So they do get married. I do have an idea of doing a wedding like short story and putting in like a collection or as like a newsletter subscriber magnet or something. I actually was planning on doing that, the magnet specifically, but I didn't get a chance to write it before book 3 came out. And so I might keep it and like expand on it and put it in like a short story collection. So technically there's no wedding, but they do get engaged, and all the happiness. But there is a way, it's a trek to get there. They have to work for it. They have to work for it. Kiki says, I would love to see a short story of the wedding. Like, it's half drafted. It's just not finished. I really enjoyed writing the first half of it. So hopefully I'll finish it and it'll be in like a short story collection, for sure. Next question here, any deleted scenes from Cities or Realms? Which one is my favorite? I didn't have a whole lot of deleted scenes from Realms. Most of it stayed, and even the one I cut, which was the dance scene in book 2 in Realms, where Case and Hallie dance upon around the fire. I cut that one initially and then added it back. And so I don't think I mainly added to book 2. Book 1, I did cut a lot. So the very beginning of book 1 is completely different. I rewrote it several times and then I axed it, and then it has a completely new beginning. The very first scene in the book was initially Hallie and Case meeting, and they were in like a tavern, and Case was interviewing Hallie for the mission instead. And Case was much more prickly than he currently is in the draft, where I got feedback saying he is too prickly and too much of a jerk. Like, you probably need to tone him down. So I did. I toned him down a lot, and it gave him like a reason for like why he was so prickly. And so that's what you see now in the beginning of the book with him with the bike fight. And then you meet his dad and understand like Case had a pretty rough upbringing. So you kind of understand the way he is. You have a little bit of sympathy for him. He tried to save the pilot. And so like you see that he has a good heart. It's just hidden under a bunch of grime. So I think that one was, I don't know if that was my favorite. I did cut a scene in the middle of the book of Cities where Hallie and Case were wandering through the forest, like I think they were on patrol or something, and they run into a character who was like basically the blind prophet Tiresias from the Odyssey, where it was like some kind of like Yalvan specter type thing that told them like this prophecy, and it was like basically laid out the rest of the book. I cut that one because it was kind of boring, to be honest. The only good thing was like the prophecy and like the little bit of banter between Hallie and Case. But anything that was like worthy of the plot and the characters, I just cut out of that scene and I wove it into the other scene. So you didn't really lose anything. You still got the same vibe. You just don't have them meeting this like prophet type character. I'm trying to think if there's anything else from book 1 I cut. Those are the 2 main ones I cut and didn't bring back. I also had to cut out a lot and change the settings of a lot of things in book 1 because it was just them walking through a forest most of the middle of the book and one of the early drafts, and I changed up the settings. They were in a bog. They got to Morai a little bit sooner. There's things happening in Morai. There's a lot more. The Case went on the dinosaur hunt, or not dinosaur. It was a dinosaur. I changed it to a dragon. Went on the dragon hunt in book 1, and so that one was new. I added that one because they needed that. So there was a lot of things I added, not a whole lot cut necessarily. Is Jo named after anyone in particular? So Jo, if you need a refresher, is Case and Hallie's youngest daughter. She's named after Jo March from Little Women. Yeah, so she's named after that. I liked the idea of them having very, classic lit type names for their children. So you have Arthur Jack, and then you have Penelope, which is after, in the Odyssey, who is Odysseus' wife, and then you have Jo. And I really liked how Jack's chickens also were literary female characters. And so I kind of commandeered that also from the chickens because Hallie would also want to feel connected to Jack, and also, it's classic lit. So she would have liked that for sure. So she's not after anyone particular in their lives, but there is a middle name. I think I have that on a different question. I think someone asked that. Oh, here you go. What are Penelope and Jo's middle names? Are they significant like Arthur Jack? Yes. So Penelope's middle name is Anna, after, Anna. And then Jo's middle name is Navarra, after Navarra, Hallie's great-grandmother. So, because she was a huge part of the end. Just a Little Tape says, oh, the chickens. The chickens are one of my favorite parts to write about book 3. Like I said, Jack was one of my favorite parts to write, but like I love the chickens. Came up with that on the fly as I was writing the last bit. And I was like, obviously he would have chickens and he would love them. And obviously they make sense in the afterlife. And that was really fun to add. And like, it ended up being a really fun world building thing. My editor like specifically commented on it. Like, this is a really cool world building thing to kind of show the world and how it works. And I was like, I love it. And so I have in my acknowledgements of book 3, one of my good friends, she has chickens and she raises chickens. So I had her like send me a video of her walking to the coop, and like describing the sounds and the smells and everything. I was like, I need the authenticity for these chickens. But yeah. So back to Penelope and Joe. Those are the middle names, Penelope Anna and Joe Navarra. And then you have Arthur Jack. So all significant, but a little bit different. Does Les get a happily ever after? I don't know if her happily ever after is like happily. It's more like a bittersweet ever after, because with the whole thing with Harlan, his redemption arc, like she finally like sees like the person he was at the very, very end, and like he was still there underneath all of that, and that just broke my heart for sure. Just thinking about that whole part, just like hits me right here. So, but like she also gets to continue living and meet her grandkids and spend time with her grandkids, and so I think she does have a good life afterwards. She gets to have her books, lives in the countryside. She achieves all her dreams, but she loses her husband in the process. And granted, she lost her husband several years before, when she kind of lost herself. But fun fact, she was actually going to die in the book, but she was saved. She and Job were supposed to die until I wrote pretty much this last draft of it. Not the last draft, but like in the outlines I had done and in the like thinking ahead before I actually wrote the third book and the first draft of the third book, both Les and Job were going to die. But they were saved because they were some of my favorite characters. So not a happily ever after, a bittersweet ever after. Yeah. Will we get an Anna and Jasper backstory, including the Fire trilogy? That is a tragedy. That is one of my ideas for the short story collection. So I'm going to keep that, pocket that. I don't know a whole lot about that because sometimes it's good to leave the backstory as the backstory, but that is one I'm kind of thinking about bringing up and exploring a little bit, especially Anna. I kind of want her to have her in a short story collection if I do end up doing a short story collection. I have a couple different ideas. Specifically, I would love to write like an Anna and Jack meeting in the afterlife, because I hinted at that it was a fun thing in the book, and I kind of want to explore that a little more. She actually was going to be part of the afterlife before I actually wrote it. In like the outline I had, she was going to be part of the afterlife. There's going to be a whole arc there for her. But then when I was writing it and trying to make sure this book wasn't like 3 times as big as it is, I had to cut her. And I feel like it felt really good for her character not to really have her in this book. She's just like a memory. And I think that was good for Case's character specifically. Yeah, so I would love to explore her character more, maybe in a short story collection or something. But like Zeke, I don't think she has like a full story to tell, if that makes sense, like full book's worth. Are you going to bring us back to Kaivana in the future? I would love to. We'll see. I'm not going to say yes or no for sure, but like I would love to, because I don't know what's going to happen. For sure. Okay. Oh, that is my old thing. That is it, guys. That is all of my questions there. I don't think I had any more that I didn't answer. Let me see. Several people are eager for the wedding scene. Yay! That makes me happy. I want to go back to it. Maybe when I have more brain space, I will go back to it. Zumi says, I don't think my heart could have handled losing both of them. I agree. And that was hard to me. I was talking to one of my critique partners. I was like, I have to kill Job. Like, that's kind of the point. I was like, I need to kill him because of reasons. Because I was like, I think it would just completely showcase his growth and character. But then I was like, Job is my favorite character, one of my favorite characters to write specifically, because I feel like I connect most with him. And I was like, I don't think I can do that. Like, I don't think he can handle it. I don't think Clara can handle it. I don't think Case might can handle it, because he learned that. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know if my heart could have handled it. And like Job and Les have been through so much. I was like, they don't deserve that. They don't deserve that. I will be lenient. Yeah. Also, side note, just as we're gonna end this here, but one of the little like things I want to add is the fact that I didn't know Case was going to kill Hallie until I wrote it. I was literally writing it, and then it happened, and it just hit me that was the perfect way to tie up his arc. And it made me really sad. I did tear up writing that, because I wasn't expecting to write that. I knew Hallie was going to be gravely injured and basically die, and Case was going to save her in some capacity. I didn't know quite how he was going to save her until pretty much the ending. But then I went back and I looked at the story about the two swords and Zira and Kynader, and was like, I think their story should mirror that. And so that's why I had Case actually hurt her, but it wasn't going to kill her. But he did. He essentially killed her. And so that was heartbreaking for me to write. And I surprised myself. So that was fun to write. And it just like, oh, hit you in the feels. But yeah, either way, that is the end of the spoiler section and the live stream in general. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys being here. And if you're watching this in the future because you've gone back and read book 3, come back to watch the spoiler section. Thank you so much for reading as well. I'm so glad this book is out in the world. And I'm just so thankful. So thank you so much. I know some of you were here and some of them were not here, but I did do some book box giveaway and we had a snafu with my internet, of course. So I will be giving information about that out a little bit later. I need to figure that out because I am so sorry, guys. That was on me. Zumi says that was a tough scene. Talk about the Case and Hallie scene where Case kills Hallie. Yeah, so beautiful in the end. I screamed during that moment. Good reactions is what I wanted. Like I said, it surprised me as well, but okay, I love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm going to go celebrate. I don't know how, but I'm going to go celebrate, probably go get a cookie or something because that's what I usually do for my release dates. I'll see you guys later. Bye.